Hello, K8. Can you hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Wait for the others. Have your groups chosen your titles for the project? Because today later on we will talk about your plan of research, yeah? We will have already formed channels for you, as you have seen. You go into your different channels, but just something to point out, the topics that you choose, do not choose topics that have already been topics such as sleep deprivation, topics that have been used many times already. I mean, that have been worked on many times in the past. Students missing breakfast or unhealthy eating habits. These kind of topics have already been done many times in the past, so try to avoid them. The best thing is you pick the titles, the examples that Dr. Yo has given. You can choose from there. But never mind. Afterwards, we can still discuss about over it. What issues, what students' needs or issues that you want to work on for your research, for your group project. Okay. But most important, please download the guidelines to the plan of research as well as a template that Dr. Yu has set up. Yeah. In the on the spectrum under week 4. Hold on, now we wait for a few more minutes and I can start. Okay, I'm going to share screen now. Yeah, you see my screen, huh? Let's do a quick review of last week's work. What did we talk about last week? What did we cover last week? What did we cover last week?
Audience.
Yeah, what about audience? What did we say about the audience? We said there are basically 2 different categories or groups of audience that we write to. And what are they? What are the 2 broad categories of audience that we write, address or write our documents to?
Specific audience.
Yeah.
And multiple audience.
Yeah, specific and multiple audience, right? Specific and multiple. Good. Specific audience refers to specific audience. It could refer to just one reader who's reading your document. Probably, for example, if you're writing an email, right, or a memo to one person, so that person is in your specific audience group. Remember, email memos, they are also technical documents. So when or it can be a group of people, right, that we write to, but they are under specific audience because basically they share a common interest or common point of view, right? For example, a doctor writing to a group of staff nurse, right? So they are considered specific audience lah. Yeah. All right. So what do we do if we are writing to a specific audience, or let's say even one person? What are the things that we must do as a writer before we even start writing? How do we consider the audience so that we can adjust our writing, right? We can make plan our writing in such a way, accommodate our writing to meet the audience needs. Yeah. So how do we first, before we can adjust our writing, what must we do? in order to get to know the audience better or who they are. What do we have to consider regarding the audience? Remember we did that last week?
Your knowledge level,
Yes. That is,
role,
sorry?
role,
We analyze, isn't it? Yeah, the knowledge level is one part of the characteristics, right? We analyze their characteristics, isn't it? And one of them is knowledge level, and a list of them, lah, right? Analyze their characteristics, knowledge level, their role, their interests, cultural background, personality, for example, lah, right? For example, let's say, give a simple example, like let's say a scenario, lah, a case in point, lah, right? You are a security officer, let's say, of an office building, right? And you're in charge of security in that building. You're head of the security in that building, okay? Office block. And there's an executive in that office who always forgets to bring her security tag when she comes to the office. Without a security tag by right, according to security rules, as a security officer, you are not supposed to allow her in, but you have been allowing her to come in. She's new, maybe 2 weeks old in the company, right? And but she every time she comes, she forgets her security tag, but you have been allowing her in. But then it has to come. You have to write a memo to her, right? Let's say you're required to write a memo to so that she needs to stop doing that. That means from now on you cannot let her in, right? Without a security tag. So how do you write the memo? So this is a specific audience. It's one person you're writing to. You're a security officer. You're writing to an executive, right, in the building, regarding this issue, this security issue that about the security tag that she needs to have that. Otherwise, you will not let her into the building from this time onwards, something like that, lah. Right? So when you want to, you write a memo to inform her of this, lah, right? So that's where you have to consider, lah, analyze this audience characteristic and see how you can adjust. You see, you analyze and then you make adjustments to your memo so that she will be able to receive that memo and understand it and be able to cooperate with you. Yeah. So one of the things you can look at is her knowledge level, lah. Knowledge level regarding what? Regarding security requirements, lah, in the building. Okay, you ask yourself, is she aware of the security rules that she needs to bring her security tag? And so most likely she should be aware, lah, because she's already joined the company. It would have been made known to her, lah, what are the security rules. So if she has already knows the security requirements, so in your memo to her, you need to write out the whole list of security requirements that she has to follow. Is it necessary? What do you think? You need to list out 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 20, all the security rules that she has to follow.
No.
No. Why? I said because she was already, you say in your writing, if you write to your reader, right, something that, and telling them something that they already know, it's no point. You're wasting their time. You're also wasting your time, right? So what you need to do in this case is, yeah, the answer is right. You don't write everything out, okay? Because knowing her knowledge level, she's aware of the security rules. What you can do is probably just quickly summarize the rules, but mention this, especially this specific point about the security tag. And then state it very clearly and directly, go straight to the point and inform her that this security tag rule, maybe there's no exception to the rule. Everybody needs to abide by it. Everybody needs to follow it. So there's no exception. So it's very clear. It applies to everyone. So it's very clear to her that she needs to have the security tag. Otherwise, she will not be allowed into the building anymore. Something like that, right? So in the memo. So and you can also look at her role, right? Now she's an executive. You are the security officer. Who is higher than who? Whose role is higher? As a security officer, is she higher than you? She's the executive?
Yeah.
The executive is higher.
Yeah. So that means as a security officer, you are writing to someone in a hierarchy, higher rank than you. So that's the role that you're looking at, lah. So in that case, So you can't tell her, for example, I'm going to report you to the boss. I mean, you can't tell her to anyone for that matter also lah. So always be tactful, be diplomatic, respectful, and go straight to the point. Yeah. So that's how you must remember lah. I mean, that's one of the things you need to analyze lah. As a writer, okay, her role is executive, so I need to be diplomatic, tactful in how I present my case lah. Okay. Another characteristic you can look at is her interest. The interest of this executive. Do you think she's actually interested in security issues in the office? How high? How is her interest level? Very interested. If you want to talk about security things, security rules, is she interested in security rules, in following routine, in abiding by the rules? You think she's interested? Is her interest level high? Or she's
I don't think so. Because
Yeah,
she
you're right. Yes.
follow the
Yeah. Why do you think her interest level is very low on this topic? From her behavior, you can see, isn't it? Yeah. That every time she has been told, reminded, and yet every time she say, "Oh, I forgot to bring my security tag." So it shows that she's not really interested in following rules and abiding by the rules. So her interest level is low. So remember, if you are a writer and you're writing to someone, a reader, about a topic that the reader is not very interested in, what do you need to do? You need to create interest. Yeah. How do you think this security officer can get her to be interested in what he's writing? Right. One way is, for example, you can, the security officer can maybe, describe a scenario. What happens if he allows everyone to get into the building without a security tag? What happens if any other people can get into a building without a security tag? And then you paint a scenario lah. For example, any outsider can come in and steal the office equipment, or even worse still, damage, harm the people in the building. So this kind of things. So hopefully, with this kind of explanation, I give a simple case scenario. It will create interest. This is what I mean by creating interest, right, to the person, so that she will read your memo more carefully and look and pay more attention to it. Yeah. Maybe cultural background here we won't talk about, so you don't have to really regard it so much, probably because you're not writing to an international reader. So, but what about her personality? Yeah, one thing he can also think about or try to analyze this executive's personality. What's her personality like, do you think? Is she a very careful person? Is she very patient or
very carefree?
Carefree, carefree, careless, carefree. Yeah, you can say that. Why? Because from her behavior, right? She's always in a hurry. She always forget and very forgetful. Rather than patient, I think she's a very impatient person. Doesn't like to follow routine. So if that's her personality, how do you think your memo should be to her? Should it be? How do you write your memo to her? Should it be very detailed, full of details and facts and information, or will be a very long memo? You think she'll be interested? She would want to
be short and direct.
Yes. So this security officer should keep his memo short, straight to the point. Tell what is required, right, and the consequences if it's not followed. Like, for example, bring your security tag. Otherwise, this is what will happen. You will not be allowed into the building. Straight to the point, direct, right, and the consequences. And of course, he can also leave his details, contact details, so that she can contact him if she needs further has questions to ask, things like that. So this is what they mean, right? By analyzing the characteristics of your audience in terms of some of these characteristics, right? And then adjust your writing, right, to fit the audience characteristics in order to get this audience to be interested in reading what you have to read, pay attention to what you have written, right? And then give their cooperation and do the whatever response or outcome that you want the reader to do. Remember, as a writer, your ultimate purpose is in outcome and action that you want your reader to do, right? as a result of reading what you have written. Okay, so this is by making adjustment. Right, then we talk also about multiple audience, and the multiple audience is where in a group of readers, they are made up of different groups of people. Like for example, in a company, you have the executive or people in the management level, or the technicians is another group, what do you call administrators is another group, right? Managers is another group. So different groups of people, but reading one document, like for example, a proposal you need to write to them, right? So in this case, how do you analyze them? What do you do? You don't really analyze the characteristics in this sense, right? What you do is you just decide. I mean, you divide them into two main groups, isn't it? What are they? You call them the first group is the group that you're most responsible for. You call them the what? Primary audience, remember? Yeah, primary audience. So you have to decide who are your primary audience, and then the rest are your secondary audience. Remember, primary audience is the most important audience. They will be the one who will read the document and make decisions based on what you have written. So these are usually people in the higher level, management level. They make decisions, right? And they execute, they implement things and so on based on what you have written. So primary and secondary audience. And then after that, your document, you have to write in different parts. Divide your document in different sections. Usually these are long documents. Proposal, for example, in different sections. And different sections will target different groups in the audience, depending on what kind of information is important to them, right? For example, the cover memo, the executive summary, the procedure section, the appendix section. So different sections under different headings will target different groups of people, will meet the needs of different groups of people in your multiple audience. Yeah. So generally we talk about that. That's how we cover audience, the importance of audience and meeting their needs. And then we also look at purpose, scope, and medium, right? So in any document that you write, audience we have covered already. Then the document, the content of your document, you also must be remember, right? To be aware, to know, and to make sure. I mean, to decide what is your purpose of writing. Purpose means what is the outcome? Outcome you want to achieve in your writing. Outcome in that sense is also what you want the reader to do. What is the action that you want the reader to carry out, right? As a result of reading your message, right? Is it to do something or not to do something, to buy something, right? Things like that. That's your purpose. And then secondly, your scope. What's your scope? What's the meaning of scope? Once you decide, you are already clear on your purpose. For example, your purpose is you want to write a message. Your purpose is to encourage the people who read your message to buy a certain laptop. Okay? To buy this particular laptop, this particular brand. So what is your scope? What will
The information needed.
Information regarding the in this case you want to the laptop,
Price.
such as the price, where to buy, the specifications, right? Scope means what kind of information to include, what kind of details to include, right? So that your purpose will be met, and your purpose is to get people to buy, isn't it? So that your purpose is achieved. Yeah. So sorry, somebody. What information to include? What information you do not include will be things like weaknesses in the product, or something about your competitor's brand that you won't include, right? Unless it's a weakness of the competitor's brand, right? You can include that, but make sure it's based on facts, not based on just your opinion. Otherwise, you can get sued. Let's say you're promoting your brand, but you want to mention your competitor's brand that have that weakness, right? And but it must be a truth, based on facts. That one you can include it in your scope, right? To strengthen your case, right? But it must be always the truth and facts. Yeah. Okay. And finally, medium. What is medium? Medium will be medium is what? What is medium? Medium is the means by which your information is conveyed, isn't it? Right? So in this case, you want to advertise the laptop that you're selling. So medium you use probably You have to reach out to it depends on your audience, a wide-ranging audience, then probably on advertisement,
Poster, flyers.
yeah, social media, a website, the product website, flyers, brochures, stuff like that lah, is the means by which your information is conveyed. Okay. All right. So with this, I hope you have done your homework. Right. So very simple homework, just one table only, isn't it? You need to fill up. Covers audience, purpose, scope, and means, and medium. Okay. Have you done this? Hope you have done that. Okay. Somebody. Give me the answer. Not always the same person lah. You give me the answer what you have written in this table. Okay, these are the situations. Number one, you are organizing a free eye test in conjunction with National Eye Health Week. So you're writing a message, right, regarding this free eye test. What is the purpose of your message? You tell me.
To give the information about the
Okay.
eyes.
Yeah, to inform, to give information about the eye or about the eye test lah, about the free eye test, isn't it? Not information regarding the health of the eyes or what, but the information regarding the eye test that you're giving. That means, in other words, to encourage people, right? Encouraging people to come forward and take this free eye test. Okay, to encourage, to persuade, to inform people, all right? So yeah, that should be your purpose, to promote the eye test, to encourage, to raise awareness about eye health, Okay, scope. What details do you need to enter to be included here? If you are the reader reading about this eye test, free eye test, what details would you want to know?
The date?
Yeah. Date, where, when is it, where is it going to be held? What else? Date,
the time,
place, time, how long is it going to be? Yeah. And let me see. Any two details you can put in, whether you're eligible or not in some case, or how to register, things like this. Date, time, venue, eligibility, right? If it's not open to all, maybe it's only for senior citizens, something like that. If then you put that detail in. How is it? How to register? How long is the eye test? How long will it take? As well as contact details, right? Contact details is also one of those things that you should cover in your scope lah. Contact details mean the writer's contact details because people may want to find out more than what you're putting here. Okay, good. What medium do you use to convey this message? How do you send this message?
social media.
Okay, social media. Any of this? Usually, this one is given out. You're going to target a general public, so you use those mass media. It can be advertisements, TV announcement, radio announcements, social media, newspaper ad, right? Flyers, banners also can, posters. Email also possible, although you're sending it to the outside public, but it could be maybe email to your clients. Maybe you are the one you open a eyewear shop or something like that. So you have customers, clients, so you want to reach out and inform your clients, so you send emails to them. Also can, right? So who is your intended audience in this case? Who are the intended audience? Who are you targeting this message to?
The public.
Yep, it can be the public, right? General that means any age, young or old, right? Male, female, general public, So that's where you can reach out to the radio adverts and newspaper adverts. Or maybe you want to narrow into people with eye problems, right? Maybe your eye test is only for those with at risk of developing eye disease. It could be, or the general public. Okay. Very good. Next one. You are doing a promotion for Astro Super Sports Package. You are doing a promotion for Astro Super Sports Package. So you're writing the message. to promote this package. So what's your purpose?
To persuade people to buy the package.
Yeah, persuade people to buy, to subscribe to the package, yeah, to encourage people, to let people know that actually it's promoting, so it's advertising lah, marketing, encouraging people to sign up for the package lah. Okay, what will your scope be? What will your scope be?
The content.
Content of the package. Okay.
Yeah.
Content of the package or the structure of the passage, right? Content, yeah. What channels, how many channels, and so on lah, right? Structure, content. What else?
The price.
How much it costs, yeah. How much it costs, and how to subscribe also, and benefits possibly. What are the benefits if I subscribe to this package? What do I gain? Maybe maybe some kind of promotion that you can obtain from it in contact details lah. Okay, what medium do you use for this promotion? Again, almost the same lah, right? Through your website, because again, generally you're reaching the general public in this sense, right? So it has to be like through website lah, to advertisements lah, right? Social media and so on. Who is your intended audience? Who is your intended audience? Well, you can say general public, but likely if you narrow it down, general public can mean children and so on. So are you targeting children here? No, isn't it?
The people who like to watch sports events.
Yeah, sports fans. Yeah, that's good. Or probably they are already new subscribers or already current Astro subscribers. Yeah, sports fans. So these are the target group lah. Yeah, target group. Okay, next one. You are explaining how the goods and service tax, GST, if you remember, how it will be implemented in Malaysia. How it will be implemented, you are explaining. I don't think you remember what GST is. So what is the purpose of explaining this GST? What is the purpose in your message?
To give information about the GST.
Yeah, correct. Give information, inform, to explain, to raise awareness. Inform means raise awareness, provide information, right? Give information. Okay, what will your scope be? What will you cover? What details will you include? If you're writing about GST.
Reason GST is implemented.
Yeah.
How GST is going to be implemented.
How is it going to be implemented? And usually GST is to do with business people and consumers, isn't it, right? How their prices can be affected, right? Or what are the benefits, what are the outcomes, right? The result, the consequence of GST, right? So this is the kind of information you'll be giving out. So, or even the definition, what's GST, what are the benefits, why is it important, how is it going to affect, right? This is the information that you will these are the details that you'll be included, right? In order to inform the public so that they become informed of this practice. Okay, what medium would you use? What medium? What medium will you use? Again, this one is also the usual. It can be through website, through social media, and so on, right? Television, radio, newspapers, brochures. Yeah. Who are the audience? Who is the intended audience here?
Residents of Malaysia.
Residents of Malaysia. Okay, because this is a government policy to Malaysians in general, but specifically, what group of Malaysians? People who are affected by this people are the one who has to pay for this, or people who are the ones who will be affected if this is implemented. Like, for example, what type of people?
Businessman.
Yeah, business people, and the receiving end, the consumers lah. You and I, consumers, we buy things and so on. We also will be interested lah, to a certain degree lah, right? Consumers, business people. Okay. All right. Next, you are asking people to meet up and protest against the construction of a telecom tower in the neighborhood. Okay. Now you are writing a message, calling people to come out together and gather together and protest against something. Demonstration lah, right? Against the construction of a telecom tower in the neighborhood. Okay, what is your message? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? To
convince people to join him in the protest.
Yeah, exactly. To convince, to persuade, to influence people to come and join your protest lah, right? And maybe somebody else may send out another message to persuade people not to join. So it depends on the purpose. Okay, to persuade people, convince people to come and join the protest. So that is the action that you want to, the purpose means the outcome that you want to achieve through your message and get people to come out and join the protest. Okay, good. Scope. What information, what details would you include in this message? If people want to join, what would they want to know?
The reasons for the protest.
The reason, yeah. What else? They must know why they want to protest, right? Okay, you give the reasons. Some more. What else?
And some common info like where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the logistics are where is the protest going to be held? When? How long? Things like that. Even like what to wear, even some what shall I wear? What do I bring? Do I need to bring banners and so on? Okay. And also another thing can be the outcome of the protest. What is the outcome lah? What is the result that you want to achieve by having this protest? You can also put that under the scope lah, right? Okay, so the outcome, date, venue, what to bring, and so on lah. Okay, medium. Medium. What do you use? Do you need to put it on television or radio in this case? Not necessarily. You're not reaching a wide audience, the entire nation of people, right? So generally, maybe in this case, you don't need to go on TV or radio. Anyway, it's costly. So what other medium can you use? Neighborhood what? What group? Oh, yeah, neighborhood website group. Yeah. On the website, neighborhood website, yeah. Resident association newsletter, maybe in the neighborhood. So or flyers, brochure, poster, right? Something that's less costly lah. Social media, right? Who is your intended audience? Who are you targeting your message to?
Person who live in the neighborhood.
Yeah, in the neighborhood, the residents. Who else besides the residents you think will be that you can target, who may be interested in your demonstration?
The NGOs.
Very good. Yes, people who are generally, fighting for people's rights, and those NGOs, the activists, right? They can be part of your intended audience. Okay, so residents and so on. Right. Finally, you are looking for a home tutor for your son. Yeah, you are looking for a home tutor, tuition teacher for your son to come to the house to give your son tuition. You're going to write a message. What is your purpose of writing that message? It's very straightforward.
To search for a home tutor.
Yeah, your message. Yeah, that's right. Your purpose to look for the tutor to hire the tutor right? To advertise for a tutor right? What is your scope? What would you write in your message? The details. What would they include?
Venue, subject.
Yeah,
Venue
what subjects? Correct. What else?
Payment.
How much you want to pay? Yes. What is your fee like? Okay. What else? Anything else? Subject. How much?
Time and location.
Yes. Your home address probably, because the home tutor, so your location will be your address, what days, what time, right? And these are the things lah. And maybe also what outcome would you expected outcome, right? As a result of this tutoring, maybe expected outcome is prepare him maybe for, I don't know lah, for SPM ke, for standard 6 exam or whatever lah, right? Some expected outcome. And maybe some of you may say, what about what else? Maybe you can also include what qualifications are you looking for? Yeah, of the tutor lah. It's also one you can also include. Maybe you're looking for someone with a bachelor degree qualification or a diploma or an SPM qualification. You can write that. So the tutor, whoever is interested, will be reading up these details, right? Okay, or age of the child also, right? What level he's in. Okay, medium. What medium would you choose? Medium will be. These are very also simple lah. No need to go on TV, no need to go on radio lah. This one is just within the vicinity, so you use probably again flyers and brochures, or advertisement, newspaper also, yeah, probably, or social media. All right, and then who is your intended audience here? Who are you targeting?
Person who has high academic level.
And on educators lah, you say educators lah, right? Educators or teachers, people in the teaching profession, or those subject teachers, right? Or even maybe students or university students in that field, right? That could be also part of your intended audience. Okay, all right. So we have done this. So are you clear now? What do you mean by purpose, scope, medium? So as a writer, you should be aware, clear on all these aspects, right, before you even start writing your document. Yeah. Okay. Are we done now? Your homework. Oh, there's one more exercise. This is a build a foundation exercises. It was also given in your handout, in your spectrum. I just go through a few of them lah. Those few questions. I won't go through all. This one, question 6, talking about primary and secondary audience. You have to identify. Remember who are your primary audience, who are your secondary audience. I hope you have done this. Can you give me the answer? Who are the primary and secondary audiences in the following situations? Aruna Amin, an advertising consultant, has been hired to write a series of advertisements to educate young people about the danger of using cell phones while driving. Okay, so he's going to write some advertisements to educate young people about the danger of using cell phones. Who is his primary audience? Who is his primary audience? That means the person or primary audience. Remember, the most important audience are the most important group of readers that you are targeting.
The young driver.
Yeah, young people who are driving. Yeah, young drivers, correct. Who will be the secondary audience?
Other driver.
Yeah, it can be other drivers, yes. Or the passengers, right? Passengers, car passengers, fellow passengers, yeah. Or maybe even like parents of these young drivers. Could be, right? So they are your secondary audience. Primary audience is the one that directly you are responsible for, that you are targeting. Okay, another one, Lu Yin Chang, a professional technical writer, is working on a catalog for Picanel Camping. It is a national outfitter. Outfitter means a retail, right? Of camping supplies. Picanel Camping is a shop that sells camping supplies, camping stuff. Okay, and this fella is writing a catalog, right, for this company that sells camping supplies. Who is the primary audience for his catalog? Who is the primary audience?
Camping lovers.
Yeah, camping lovers. Yeah, exactly. Campers. People who are interested in camping, who go for camping, will want to, interested in buying camping stuff, right? So campers. People who go camping. Right? So that's his primary audience. Who is his secondary audience? Secondary audience? It cannot be non-campers. people who don't camp, who don't like camping, will not be targeted at all, will not be interested in this catalog at all, right? Who will be his secondary audience? Who are also interested, who are affected, but they are not the primary audience. Example? Anyone?
The suppliers, sellers.
Yeah, it can be, or even this company itself lah. The company itself who is selling these supplies lah. They are the secondary audience lah, right? But his primary audience are the ones who your purpose is to meet their needs lah, to persuade people to buy lah. So this will be the primary audience. Okay. So secondary audience are people who are also interested in the article, in the catalog, but they are not the one who is buying the supplies. So it can be suppliers, it can be the shop itself who is selling, the retail people. Okay. All right. So one more. This one is audience and medium. Suggest an appropriate, this is question 5, an appropriate audience and medium for the following situations. So it's very simple. Nadia wants members of a scuba diving club to know the latest diving news. Who is her audience? And what medium is she using to deliver this news? Very straightforward. Who is the audience? What does she want to read about this diving news?
Members of her scuba diving club.
Yeah, her club members lah. And what medium can she use to deliver this diving news?
Probably a social media WhatsApp group.
Can be maybe the club social media or the club newsletter. Yeah, okay. Not club social club website. Yeah, club website. Okay. Right, next, Thaddeus is responsible for selling manufactured homes in his territory. This is his, what do you call it, a property agent. He sells houses in a certain area, right? He sells houses. Who is his audience? And what medium does he use?
Residents in that territory.
Residents are okay, but not necessarily. It can be residents from other territories, but they want to move here. See, but in general, it is people who are like, it cannot be students. Can it be students? No, isn't it? No, I doubt students, would be interested in looking to buy houses. Not at this point, right? So very likely it is potential people who have the potential to buy houses, or potential house buyers, right? That's the audience. So what medium does he use? Normally, where do you advertise property and so on? Just like you sell second-hand cars. Where do you advertise what medium do you use nowadays,
The banners, I can saw it all around my house.
Okay, it can be banners. You're talking about what? Property, is it? Property, yeah, it can be banners, posters, or more professionally, if it's a property agent working for a property company that sells properties, right? Probably they have a website, right? Property website, advertisements, property websites, yeah. All right. So these are medium can be used. It's just like I say, if you want to buy second-hand cars, normally nowadays you just go to a second-hand. To find out more information, we look up used car websites, isn't it? Okay, finally, the country health department wants to tell the public how to prevent the flu. Yeah. Who is your audience? Who's your medium? I mean, especially now, our Malaysian Health Ministry, right, wants to tell the public about COVID-19 updates, how to protect yourself. Who is the audience? Who is the audience?
It seems like everyone.
Everyone, yeah, correct. General public. Right? In this case, you call it the public, right? What medium do you use? What medium have they been using to inform us about COVID updates and all that?
Newspaper, radio, television, the website.
Yeah, website, Health Ministry website, right? Newspapers and so on. So, or we have what you call it also. Sometimes you can see in your social media, an advertisement, an announcement put up is called the public service announcement, or about there's what clusters in what places and so on, or there how many new clusters in which town is appearing. It can appear. It's usually it is what do you call it? It is produced. I mean, this public service announcement is made by the government. Government. So they set up an announcement and they put it on social media. So they're called public service announcements. So that's why when you look for information from authoritative, what do you call it? Valid websites, valid sources, reliable sources, like from the government, from the ministry, and so on, and not from WhatsApp messages or forwarding here and there. That's why we get all the fake news and fake reports, no? Okay, right. So there you are. So I hope by now you are clear, right? So we have covered week 3. We talked at length about the audience, the different kind of audience, how to write to meet their needs, how to adjust our writing to meet the needs of different types of audience. As you know, there are different types of readers, different types of audience, right? And there may be different groups of audience reading the same document. So how do you adjust your writing types, things like that? And you understand what is medium, what is purpose, and what is scope. Okay. So with that, we have finished last week's work. So today we are looking at week 4, technical research. Yeah. In fact, this topic, technical research, will cover 2 weeks input. This week, week 4, and next week, week 5. We will talk about technical research, and this is where you start doing your your project, because your project, your group work, which is your assessment for the course, will be a technical research that you're going to carry out in your group, right? And by the way, just to remind you, please take note that Dr. Yeo again has uploaded his slide cast. I hope you have been downloading his slide cast and listen to his mini lecture plus his PowerPoint slides, right? That he has done for every topic. I think from week 2, week 3, and week 4 also he has done. He has already uploaded, and it actually covers 2 weeks lessons, this week and next week. So it's about 45 minutes long. Please download it, follow his slides, listen to his lecture, okay? After we have finished the class, right? So, and again, and the readings that you will be required to do for this week, no homework, no homework, because you'll be starting on your plan of research. We'll talk about that later. So this week we won't, it will not be from your textbook, right? These 2 topics is he has also uploaded the handout, which is taken from the older textbook. That's why you see the pages from 300 something to 300 something. So it's a section of the old textbook. He has scanned it and uploaded it. So we are referring to that for primary and secondary research. So please download it, or you don't have to print out, download it and read it. Do that for your readings after the class. Okay. So very quickly, primary research, there are 2 types of research, right? Primary and secondary research. So right at the beginning, do not be afraid of research. Sounds like such a big thing that you have to do some more technical research. So don't worry, we're not talking about research that PhD students do or master students. So this is just research. Basically, it means to carry out certain things. Usually you identify an issue, identify a problem, and then you go through a few steps to find out, to study the problem with the objective of coming up with a solution to solve the problem. So this is what workplace research is all about. You will be doing workplace research, in your workplace in the future. It can be anything. It can be as simple as, let's say, you're writing to your customer about a new product that your company is launching. So you have to do certain research to find out more about the product so that you know what to write in your letter, right? Research is basically to get information and then to inform your reader so that your reader can, of course, at the end, again, there's a response and an action to do. So in this case, your research is or it can be, the research can be, maybe there's a problem in your office where the absenteeism rate is very high. So maybe your boss will ask you, can you carry out research to find out why is the absenteeism rate in this company so high? So there's a research. Why are people always absent from work? So you carry out a research to find out, and and then it will go through a series of steps, and the final outcome will be a solution, a recommendation, or suggestion that you have to recommend to your boss that this is the solution to help to solve the problem. Yeah? The reason to carry out research is so that you can come up with solution to solve the problem, so that things get better, life gets better, right? So that you don't live with the problem. Yeah. Okay. So don't worry. This research that you all are doing for this course is just a small scale project. A small scale project, but nevertheless, it will go through a series of steps, a process that you need to go through, and it's a good experience, and you will learn to work in a team, work in your group, right, to carry this out. Okay, so let's look at an example. For example, this is an issue, let's say, stress management among students. So you want to, maybe you have identified, this is one problem that students face, a lot of stress. Are you under a lot of stress? Okay, so let's say if most students are all stressed up. What kind of stress? Study stress, personal life stress, don't know lah, all kinds of stress. So you want to help to address this issue, come up with some solution or a program or some kind of recommendation to help to solve this problem. Not solve it 100%, but at least help to improve the situation, right? So that students do not get overstressed or suffer from stress. Okay, so you carry out research, isn't it? So what do? What is one of the things that you can start doing? What's the first thing that you think you should do? How do you go about it? How do you start it? What do you think? Let's say I tell you, try to come up with a study about the stress level of students. What's one of the things that you can do or you need to do? What do you think? Anybody?
Conduct a survey.
Correct. Yes. Survey, that means in other words, you collect data. Yeah, when you do research, you have to get data, facts. So one of the ways of collecting data for your research is conduct a survey. Survey with whom? Survey who?
Of the students.
Yeah, you carry out a survey. Usually survey means you use a questionnaire, you write some questions there, and then regarding stress and so on, and then send it out to the students. So that when they answer, then you get some data already. And that's one way of collecting data. Yeah, so that's one of the things you need to do as a researcher. What else? How else can you collect data from, in this case, your students? How else can you collect data besides survey? There are a few methods that you can use. You can do survey, some more.
Interview them by phone calling.
Yes, interview. You can interview, right, students, and ask them more about this. Find out more about the situation, stress, because from this data, like through survey, through interview, you collect data. One of the things that you can find out is this really a problem in does this problem really exist, or is it just somebody's presumption? Is it presumptuous? Does this problem really exist? And if this problem exists, how severe is it? How serious is it? So you can get this kind of data from your interviews and from the surveys, that the data that you collect from interview and survey from the students themselves, because they are the ones who are directly affected under this situation. Yeah, good. So you collect data. Now, before what else do you do besides collecting data, do you think? Collecting data is one of the research, one of the steps in the research process. What else do you need to do? What else do you need to know? Anybody?
So basically we already have our topic, so we know the targets, know the problems, and so we have to find the ways to solve it and the cause of it.
Okay, right, good. You find the cause. Yeah, another thing you can find out is the causes of this situation, of this problem, right? To find out what are the causes, what are the results of this, what happened if it's not solved, what is the consequence and all that. You can get this information partly from your survey and interview, and also partly from where else can you get this information. Even like suggestions of solutions, you can also get ideas from the survey and the interview that they conduct. But where else? What other sources can you get your information from, your data from, besides students or people in In fact, when you survey and interview not only students, you can also survey or interview staff or even their lecturers regarding this matter. But who else or where else can you get your information from? What other sources can you refer to? Let's say stress among students in general, not necessarily zero in on in general, stress among university students. Where can you source this information?
Like the library, the articles, the books, and the got provide a database.
Yes, correct. What this is called, you go and look for or read up on background information. This is what you call background information. So as a researcher, in fact, the first thing you do before you go and do your interview and your survey, you go and read up on background information. Can be from and that background information means you look for other sources, that means books, articles, other reports, other studies, previous studies that have been done that is related to your topic. And of course, before MCO and all that, you're supposed to go to the library and read and all that. But now, even without MCO on that, you can source these materials online so easily. They're all available online, but make sure that your sources are authoritative lah. They are valid sources lah, not somebody's blog or what lah, right? Articles from good universities, studies that have been done by universities and so on, on issues related to this topic. It can be just on stress among students, or stress among young people, or stress on university students, but it's some university somewhere in some other country, somebody has done a study on it. Then you can read up, find these articles and read up online to get background information. Okay, and then only, or maybe even in let's say previously, studies have been done on the stress management of students. You can also read up the history, right? Whatever it is, read up on what other people have done or discussed or written about these related issues, topics related to this. Okay, but in order to, after you're reading your background information, those are from, regarding other cases, similar cases, but somewhere else in some other countries, some other universities. But to find out about that is where you need to collect your data. That is where your library, your interview and your survey come in, where you interview your students to find out about this situation in your case, in your specific case. Only only the one affecting students. So to get those information, you interview, you survey your students. Okay, so that stage is called collecting data. Okay, and then once you've got the data, right, you analyze your data, you evaluate your data, and that one we'll talk about later on. You will collect a lot of data, especially survey. You can get, in real research, you can get up to 200-300 responses. But in your case, for your project, you just limit to about at least 50 respondents, 50. It's easy to send out online. I'm sure you have done this before, right? Use online to send out your questions, your questionnaire, and then even of course in survey, you will never get 100% response lah, right? If you send out to 100 people, you'll be good if you can get 50 back, 50 people reply and get back. Okay, so try to get at least 50 responses survey. An interview, yes, you got to carry out collect interview, but of course interview, you don't expect you to interview 100 people. Interview will be a smaller group lah, right? So you get all these responses, then you analyze, you evaluate, and then don't forget to cite. The citation is, we'll talk about it in the next week, right? Next week, where you've also studied about, it's called documentation, right? Documentation or citing the sources of your information from your background reading, right? It's a very important aspect of research, research that you must not ignore. Whatever information that you get from your readings, and you're going to write it in your report, include it in your report, you have to acknowledge the source, isn't it, right? Documentation, so we'll cover that more extensively next week. But I think you all already have done a course on that in your first year, I believe. Well, what happens if you do not cite your sources in your research writing? If you do not cite the source of your information,
Plagiarism.
yeah, you will be committing plagiarism, right? And that one is a very it's a serious thing. I don't know whether in Malaysia we take it seriously, but it's getting to be a more serious offence nowadays. So do not take it for granted, lah. Do not what do you call it? Take it lightly, lah. Right? So documentation is very important, right? And of course, finally, you make your recommendations, you report your findings. Now, after doing your research, you must report on what you have learned from the data. That is your finding. You don't do the research and end up and finish and then get all the data and report it, and that's it. You must finally report what have you learned. And what you have learned from it, then you come up with recommendations, right? With suggestions for a solution to the problem. So that is, in fact, this whole thing is what is research all about, lah. What does research process involve? Generally, you will be going through this, okay? So very quickly, we'll talk about the two types of research that you should be aware of. One is primary research, where it's also called direct research or first-hand research. Why we call it first-hand or direct? Because in primary research, the primary research activity involves the researcher who has to go out and collect his or own data. Just like what you mentioned just now earlier, you want to find out about the stress level of a UM student. You go and survey the student. You interview the students to find out about the situation. So the data, the answers that you get from them, that is your data. That is your primary. And what you have done by interviewing them and surveying them, you're carrying out primary research, okay? And the methods of collecting data, you mentioned two, survey and interview, and there are a few others, okay? Primary research methods. You can also make direct observations. In some kind of research, you can collect your data by just observing, observation. Like for example, if you want to research about parking problem in the campus or traffic jam in the campus, the best way is one of the best way of collecting data will be by observation. You station yourself in a particular spot in the campus and you count the number of cars that pass, within a certain period of time. So from there, you also get your data. So certain research, right? Certain situations will require you to collect data by observation. Not necessary, not by interview or survey. That one will be less effective, right? So the data you get from observation for this kind of situation will be more valid. Of course, survey, interview, we talk about that. You can also go on site visits, like let's say like next time in your company where you work and your boss say want to shift the office to a new site, or maybe you're working in a restaurant, want to open a new branch in another place, find a new location for the branch and all that. So you have to go and do a site visit to see whether that area proposed is it suitable? Is it a good choice? Is it a good decision to move there? The kind of thing. You have to go on site visits to research the area, and come up with a report and perform tests. Test is also another way of collecting data. But we won't do all that. So for your project, class project, just two only, survey and interview. But you must do those two. Those two data collecting methods. They're actually data collecting. Okay, primary research is one type. What is the second type then? What is it called? If this is called primary, then the second type of research will be probably called what?
Secondary.
Yeah, secondary. And so secondary will be the difference is called indirect as opposed to direct, and it is not first-hand research. It is called desk research. Why we call that is because this kind of secondary research, the researcher do not go out and collect data. What you do is you use data collected by other people. Now, this is where just now we mentioned where you collect the data by reading books, reading articles, reading the works and the reports and the studies done by other people on that project, on that subject, and then you evaluate and you come out with information, right, regarding it. So, like, actually, what you are doing is you are actually doing both. This is where background study comes in. When you're doing your background information, getting background information is through secondary research, right? To find out what other people have talked about or discussed or have researched regarding this topic or related topic. So your background information comes from secondary research. Then only you do your primary research where you specify, zero in on your students. That's where you go out and collect data. Okay, so there's a difference. You're actually doing both, right, in your project. So this basically means reading up, right? Again, get your materials, articles. It can be easily gotten through online. Just Google, right, the topic and so on. But make sure that your sources are valid, reliable sources. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So I just very quickly, primary research. We're going to look at these three data collecting methods. We look at survey, interview, and observation. Like I say, you won't. Now y'all cannot do observation. You can't go out anywhere, but we don't do observation. Formally, when you're in campus, actually, there are students who make use of, who have used this method also, observation. But observation can be said that it's, in a way, it's easier to carry out because you don't have to come up with questions. Whereas survey and interview, you have to formulate questions. But then again, you must see that whether in observation, whether it's relevant or not to your topic. Okay, never mind. You don't have to worry about observation. You only need to know that these two are survey. We look at survey first. Okay, question is, why survey? What are the advantages of, you know what survey is, isn't it? Survey means what? It's not
Giving out forms with questions regarding your research.
Yeah, it's written in a questionnaire. You come up with a list of questions. So in your project, you just need to come up with, I think according to the guidelines given, just 10 questions will do. 10, but 10 important questions. You have to think carefully, questions that you want to put in to make sure that you get the data that you want. Later on, we will talk a little bit about survey questions. Okay, so survey is coming out with a questionnaire. You write out 10 questions and then you send it out to people, right? And ask them to please answer, and then send it back to you. A survey using your questionnaire. Questions can be regarding what is their opinion about things, what is their knowledge, how much do they know about this issue. You can also ask them suggestions for solutions and so on, right? So it depends on your topic, right? So what advantage does survey have over the other methods of collection, data collection? Let's say, what advantage does survey have over interview? What do you think? Which is easier to carry out, survey or interview, you think?
Probably survey. Because survey,
right.
we need the agreement from both sides to have a same free time to have communication.
Interview is a little bit more messy, right? Because you need to make arrangements and so on. Survey will be much easier and very much more convenient and very fast, isn't it? You can do a survey. You can get a survey done with 100 people, especially now everything is online. You just send it online and give them a deadline, timeline or deadline, send the answers back to you. And you get, if all 100 send back to you, then you get, data from 100 respondents. So it's fast, it's convenient, right? It's easier to carry out. And also another thing is survey, you can reach, you can reach more people, isn't it? Right? Like I say, you can survey, you send out to 100 people, but you can't interview 100 people, right? That's almost impossible, right? So survey, you can reach a larger audience, right? A larger population, we call it, and get more data, largest range of data, largest set of data you can get from survey. These are the advantages of survey, right? So, and also another thing is survey, you don't need to, it can be anonymous. No need to ask them to write their names or even their faculty, if it's not necessary, right, for your project. So if it's not necessary, sometimes it depends, sometimes you may need to know the faculty because of your purpose of your research. But if your research doesn't need to identify they are from which faculty and so on. So no need. It can be totally anonymous. So when it's anonymous, people tend to be able to want to answer more willingly lah and honestly because it's anonymous, right? So these are some of the advantages of survey. It's an efficient way to gather feedback from a large population, and it is not expensive, right? It is, in fact, you don't have to use any kind of gadgets, buy anything to use for your survey, right? It's much more cheap to carry it out compared to other methods. Anonymous, right? And also respondents have more time because you send it out, you give them a time frame to work it out. To answer it, so there's time for people to think about it to answer lah, right? What are the disadvantages of survey? Do you think? Are there any disadvantages? Disadvantage of survey over interview. Anybody? Any disadvantages? Everything also has pros and cons now. So what are the weaknesses of survey you think? Anyone?
In terms of accuracy, I simply give a random answer that is not logic.
Yeah, correct. There is a tendency of people of not answering honestly, so your answers data may not be that valid, isn't it? That's one. Yeah. And you can't really control the data that you receive. Secondly, is you also cannot get people. If they don't answer, they don't answer. You can't force them, isn't it? Right? So and in most cases, survey the return rate, the response rate can be quite low one. Like I said, it can be only 50%, but if you can get 50%, it's considered quite good already lah. Especially if you send out, let's say 200, you get 100 back, it's very good already. Or you send out 100, you get 50 back. But the fewer people you send to, you will get fewer back lor. You say if you send to only 20, you get 10 people. I mean, what can you do with 10 responses, isn't it? So try to send out more, right? So that you get at least 50%, minimum about 50 responses lah, right? So the disadvantages of survey is that the response rate can be pretty low, And also another thing is in surveys, you cannot get very in-depth kind of data. You cannot ask questions. You don't really interact with the respondents, isn't it? In fact, not at all, right? It's only through your questionnaire only, right? And then they write the answers back. You can't interact. You cannot ask them further, right, regarding their response or why they say this way, why they say that way. So the data is not very rich lah, in that sense. You can get a lot of data, large data, but not very detailed, not very in-depth. And that's some of the disadvantages of survey, right? Okay, so let's look at the different types of survey questions, because you all are going to do survey anyway. So be aware of there are a few types of questions that you can use. Types of questions, what I mean is a different question style. One, of course, the most common is you can ask yes/no questions lah. Yes/no means questions that require only a yes or a no from your audience lah, right, from your reader. But please bear in mind that don't let's say use yes/no questions sparingly lah, right? You're only asked to come up with 10 survey questions. Out of 10, 5 is just yes/no questions. Yes/no questions are not very effective because they don't give you much information, right? Okay, and it doesn't really help you in your research later on, right, in your findings. So concentrate more on like multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions is very good questions, a very good style of questions that you can use in your questionnaire. And even multiple choice also limit to 5 items lah, right? 5 items. These are the items lah, not more than 5 lah. Yeah, A, B, C, D, E, 5 or less, not too many. Right, so multiple choice question is a good type of question for survey. You can also ask open-ended question in survey. Open-ended means they are free to, they are free to answer lah, according to their. It's open-ended lah, right? It is not focused. So let's giving an opinion or giving a suggestion. They are free and open. But again, open-ended also use it sparingly in survey, because it will be very hard to analyze your data later on, isn't it? If you use too many open-ended, let's say in your survey, 5 are open-ended questions, and you get 100 responses back, you get 100 open-ended answers. So how are you going to evaluate? How are you going to analyze the data later on? It's a little bit more difficult. Yeah? So stick more to multiple choice, right, rather than open-ended questions, and some yes and no questions. Okay. The other type is there are two more types. One the third type is the fourth one is a rating question you can ask in survey. Rating, I'm sure you know what it means. You ask the reader to rate on a scale of, usually it's just 1 to 5 or 1 to 4, right? Not more than 5. Again, limit to 5 items. Put a scale. You're familiar with this, isn't it? But number 1 means this is a scale from unsatisfied to extremely satisfied. So you put a scale of 1 to 5. Can you rate, for example, this question? Please describe how you felt about the homecoming pep rally. Yeah, so unsatisfied, somewhat satisfied, very satisfied, extremely satisfied. It's called the Likert scale. There are other examples of Likert scales that you can look up, Google, and find out. Other ways, instead of satisfaction, it can be poor, weak, strong, something like that. Different range that you can use, depends on your question. Okay, so rating question you can use for your survey. One more is ranking question, where you ask the reader to rank in order of preference or in order of choice, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, also you limit to 5 items. For example, please rank the following homecoming activity in order of preference, starting with 1 for your favorite activity. And make sure your questions are worded very clearly. So here you ask the reader to rank. Number 1 is which one is the most favorite. Number 2, and then number 3, number 4, ranking. Okay, just ask your reader to rank. So examples, these are the kind of questions that you can use in your survey. But again, try to use it not use it more sparingly. Don't use too many of these questions, because remember, in a survey, you want people to be able to answer a survey with the least amount of effort. Don't let them have to struggle and try to answer your 10 questions. There's so much to do, so many open-ended questions and all those things. So when they need a lot of effort to answer your survey, they will stop answering and they won't answer your survey, right? So make sure your questions are worded also clearly, and also do not require too much effort to answer. But then again, it doesn't mean that not too much effort means every question is yes, no answer only. That one doesn't help. Okay, and then very quickly, we look at some examples. By the way, all this what I'm talking about is taken from your handout. It's on your handout. The one that Dr. Yu has uploaded is called Doing Research by Colin, K-O-L-I-N, the author. That's why it's taken from a section of a textbook. That's why the page is 300 something. Yeah. So, okay, now you look at this example. Look at the 2 survey questions here. Why is this a weak question and this one is a better question? This is actually improvement of this. Are we open enough hours on Saturdays? Yes, no. What is poor? Why is this question poorly written? Whereas if it's rewritten this way, how many hours would you like us to be open on Saturdays? Why is this better than this?
It having the number, so you can briefly know what your customer would like to have.
Exactly. See, remember, when you want to collect data, right? When you want to put a question, you make sure that the answers they give you is good data for you. For example, if you just write like this, are we open? And then using vague word, it's very vague, words like enough hours, and then yes or no. So your customer write yes, or if a customer write no, what else can you do with this data? Right? There's not much you can do. Yes, also you also don't know actually how many hours they prefer. So this is so much better. How many hours would you like us to be open? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then from here you see how many of them pick the most number. The most number of them pick which is the favorite. So let's say most of them pick 6 hours. So there you are. You have your data already. They will guide you to make your improvement. Make an improvement in your business. Okay, I'll open for 6 hours because that seems to be the favorite. Whereas you can't get this kind of information from this kind of question like this, right? So make sure that your question is, basically the problem with this is vague. So be more specific, be more precise, right, in the options that you give, because you have to think of the data that you're going to collect from their answers. Don't just ask for the sake of asking. You ask for the sake of getting data from them, getting the kind of information that will help you to come up with a solution later on. Right? Okay, another one. Again, what is your overall impression of our customer support and delivery services? Okay, this is not like a scale: poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. What's wrong with this? Why is this question very weak? Thumbs down. Whereas this is an improvement. You see, it has come out with, what is your overall impression of our customer support service? How would you rate our delivery service? You see how has it been improved? What's wrong with this? This is what you call, you're asking them opinion of two separate items, you know. Don't put two different items or three in one question. Ayo, your reader will say, ayo, if I say good, doesn't mean that it's good for both customer support and delivery. But what if he wants to say good for customer support and poor for delivery? So where is he going to fill in the details? Say there's no option for him. So this is what you call a double barrel question. Don't include more than one item in one question, right? So ask one question at a time. This one on customer service, this one on delivery service. So it's much better one question at a time. Okay? So avoid double barrel questions like this, right? So the reader also will have problem answering. Okay, what's wrong with this? When is the best time to call you? Daytime, afternoon, weekday, after work, evening, night.
Too many choices, and it's not specific enough.
Not specific, and you see there's overlap, isn't it? Daytime, afternoon. Actually, daytime is afternoon, and afternoon is daytime one. So and weekday and after work. So which one, weekday or daytime? Or if they're supposed to pick just one, there's overlapping, so it's very confusing to the reader. Which one shall I pick? You see, whereas this one, so the options are overlapping, right? That's the problem here. Whereas it's very clear, no overlap. Which is the best time to call you? Morning, 8 to noon. Afternoon, noon to 5. Evening, 5 to 10. It's so clear, so specific. And it will give you very specific guidelines to do your work, right? To know when to call, right? Because if the exactly, so it's very specific and there's no overlap. Let's say one more. Okay, what's wrong with this? Which type of non-alcoholic beverages would you like us to offer? Soda, juice, coffee, tea, milk. What's wrong with this?
It missed out some other choice.
Yes, this too limited range, right? Limited range of options. Only this. What if your reader wants other kinds of drinks besides this that's not listed, right? What maybe they want to put other drinks, like for example here, this is much better, soda, juice, coffee, tea, milk, bottled water, and others. Put what here? Alternative here where they can write, please specify any other drinks that they want. So for example, barley line. So they can write here, it is not in this list, so others. So make sure that your full range is offered, full range of options offered to the reader. Okay, what's wrong with this? What was your overall impression of the CGI in this film? What's wrong with this? Very obvious, isn't it?
It's not precise.
Why not precise? Which is not precise?
Like what is a CGI and what term?
Yeah, exactly. Don't avoid using technical jargon or abbreviations that are unfamiliar, right, to the general people, general public. So it's not good. Spell it out, right? Because you're giving your word to people and random to answer what. So not everybody will understand what is all this. So avoid all this abbreviation technical jargon right? That is not familiar with the general public. So it's better. In fact, CGI means computer generated imagery, right? Okay, and okay, what's wrong with this? Were you impressed by this award-winning product? And this is a better version. Do you think this was an award quality product? What's wrong with this question? Were you in what word that's used here that is trying to shows that the writer is trying to influence the reader? Most likely, if you read this, were you impressed by this award? Most likely, readers will write yes or no. Most likely, you will write the word the word that shouldn't be put here is the word what?
Impressed?
Yeah. Avoid words like this. Are you impressed? Are you disappointed? You know, this shows that the writer is trying to influence the reader, you know, to agree with him. Yes, I'm impressed. Most of them will most likely will write yes, impressed. Because these are called examples of bias question. It shows the writer's biasness, prejudice, right? So, or leading question, bias or leading. So always make your question objective and neutral. Remember we said technical writers, be objective, be neutral, right, in your writing. Don't show any preference for any particular item or any particular site. So we word it this way. Did you think this was an award quality product? So it is more neutral. It is objective. So you're not trying to show that you're not trying to influence the readers. So keep your questions objective and neutral. Don't use words like this. And okay, so that's it lah. And finally, one more point is in survey or even in question in interviews, avoid inappropriate questions. Don't ask too personal questions. Even asking them, of course, survey we keep anonymous most of the time, right? We want to be anonymous, and if it's not necessary, they don't have to fill up, give you information on what their age or what race. There's no need to ask what race they are, what age, or even gender, right? If it's not necessary, if it's not the data that you want to, you find it necessary for your research. So it's not necessary to know what age or whether they're young or whether they are very old or what race they are, or even what is their, what do you call it, sexual orientations. No need. Do not ask inappropriate personal questions unless it's a data that you want to collect for your research, for the purpose of your research. Otherwise, keep away from personal questions. Okay, keep that in mind, both for survey and interview, same. Okay, right. Let me finish this quickly. Then we will talk about your plan. Then we have a short break after this. Okay. Just a little bit more interview. Now we go to interview. Yeah. So we talk about survey. We say the advantages of survey. You can reach a lot of audience. It's very fast. It's very convenient. It's cheap, right? What about interview? What advantages does interview have over survey? I mean, as in everything, there's always pros and cons. There's always strengths and weakness. What are the strengths of interview, do you think?
The questions may vary according to the condition. Like I found that he answered a interesting answer, so I can ask the further questions about it.
Yes, very good. You can probe. As an interviewer, you can probe further. You can find out more. So, for example, if something not clear, you can ask the interviewer, can you explain further? Can you elaborate? Can you tell me why? Can you tell me more? So you can probe further, and in that way, you can get more in-depth feedback as compared to survey. Survey, you can't do that, right? Because no way you can do it. It's just a survey. Whereas interview, you're doing a personal interaction with the interviewee, right? You're interviewing the person. By the way, survey interviewer is not like asking survey questions orally. It's not like number one, and then you read out your survey question, and then it's done, conducted orally, and you call that an interview. It's not. Interview is more of a conversation. Of course, you have your questions, but your questions are more general and open-ended, free for the interviewee to respond. In fact, in an interview, it is more of the interviewee talking, and you as a good interviewer should have good listening skills. You should be the one doing most of the listening attentively so that you can catch certain things. And if you want to ask more, if you want to know further, then you ask the interviewee. Then there, right on the spot, you can get an instant reply. Okay, so there's more opportunities to elaborate, to clarify further, right? So you can get more in-depth information. from interview. So that is the advantage of interview over survey, right? Survey, you can't get in-depth data, right? So keep that in mind. And in interview, yes, you can record. You in fact you should do a recording, but please let the interviewee know that you are recording his or her answers. Recording means just record audio lah, the person's audio, audio recording lah. No need to do video recording lah. No need to videotape the person. Just record his replies. Yeah, because it will help you later on. And also you make short notes during interviews. You make short notes. And later on when you analyze your interview data, you can listen to the recording again. You don't need to transcribe. Transcribe means writing word for word what the person said. No need. You just pick up the key points that the person said in his answers, right? So that's why you need recording, an audio recording to help you. And then making short notes also will help you. Then later on to help you to analyze your data. Okay, so it is an interaction, back and forth interaction between you as an interviewer and your interviewee, right? Based on the questions that you got lah. Okay, so that is the what do you call it? The advantage of interview lah, right? You get in-depth feedback, you get instant results. The interviewer is able to clarify. You can even adjust your question. In fact, if your question is not so clear, or you find maybe in the course of the interview, you want to change your question a bit, you can also do that, right? Then the interview, you want to modify, you want to adjust your questions, also can, right? And then, of course, if you are interviewing experts, let's say you are doing something on health or mental health issue, and you are interviewing a psychologist, let's say, or a doctor or a health worker, you are getting opinions from experts themselves, right, through interviews. Yeah. Okay. What are then the disadvantages of interview? These are the strengths, the advantages. What are the disadvantages? Maybe as compared to survey. Any disadvantages of interview? In fact, you have mentioned earlier already. Interview,
we have to make an arrangement on the time.
Yeah, interview is more time consuming. More time consuming, not in the sense that the interview is going to be very long. By the way, keep your interview about 5 to 10 or the most 15 minutes enough already. Please don't let your interview go on for 2 hours or so. And by the way, your interviews all have to be conducted online, right? But it has to be oral interaction. Just one-to-one enough. Let's say there are 5 members in your group. Each one do 1 interview. So you have 5 interviewees already. Yeah. So it's more time consuming because you have to prepare. Not just prepare the questions, but you have to set up an appointment. You have to identify who you want to interview. You have to contact him. You have to ask permission. You have to let the person know, isn't it? I'm going to interview you on a certain date at what time, regarding what, or why you're doing this. All this you have to do. And even after the interview, and please all the time be professional, right? Be courteous, be polite, thank them, right? Thank them after the interview and so on. And after that follow up, after the interview, you still got to go back, read your notes, listen to the recording, right? Make short notes, pick up all the key points. So more time consuming than survey, for example. Survey, although you're working with a large amount of data, but you have that, that app, isn't it? That in the computer, they help you tabulate it in the form of charts and graphs and all that. So that can be all easily done. Whereas in interview, you have to, when you report the findings, you still have to write out the key points from each of the from the answers that you have received from your 5 interviewees. So it takes time. So it's more time consuming in that sense. That is the time consuming. Maybe it could be also, not some of course interview is not anonymous. You see the person face to face, right? So probably maybe. In both cases, interview and survey, you may not get honest answers from your respondents. That's one thing you cannot control. Unlike observation, observation, one advantage of observation is you can be very sure that your data is more valid because you're observing there and there, you're looking at it, but you're observing it. So there's no way that is inaccurate. You're observing what is happening there in front of you. So it's more valid in that sense. Survey and interview are a little bit less valid. Okay, so we are done with this. We won't Okay, interview can be both lah. Two types are one-on-one or focus group. Focus group means it's a group. Maybe 5 people sit together and then, but you won't do focus group here. You just do one-on-one, like what I said just now. But so if there are 4 members in a group, each one interview one person. So you have 4 interviewees already. But use the same set of questions, of course. I think number of questions, about 5 questions. But make sure that you think carefully over what you want to ask to get to look at the end result, what data you want to receive, what data you want to get. So then you compose and you word your questions carefully. Let's look at some example of survey interview questions here. Just 3 only. What's wrong with this question? How can let's say you're doing an interview, you want to interview your customers on how to improve your website. Let's say, for example, you are a Shopee employee and you created a website for Shopee, but now you want to make further improvement. You want to redesign your website, so you want to do a research to find out what your customers think. How can our website help you? Right? How to improve? So if you ask a question like that, how can our website help customers? Is it a good survey interview question? Or why is it a poor question? Why is this a weak question? How can our website help customers? It's open-ended. By the way, keep your interview questions, most of it open-ended. Don't waste time asking yes/no question for interview. You have opportunity to talk to the interviewee, right? No point, just you only get answers and yes or no only from the interviewee. Isn't it wasting time? Use the opportunity to find out more. So ask open-ended questions. Yeah. Okay, what's wrong with this question? Why is it weak? How can our website help customers? What? I mean, you can get a whole host of answers, isn't it? They can tell you this, they can tell you that. It's very, very difficult for you to analyze the data, right? For interview, from the responses you get. So what's like help? It's very vague, very vague. Try to be more specific, right? So that when you get your data, right, you know exactly that. For example, you can ask, it's better you can word your question this way. In what ways can we improve the navigational signals on our website? Right? So you zero in, you be more specific in your answers, in your question, then your answers will be, your data will also be more specific. You're looking about the how can we improve our navigational signals? Okay? So that to help you find your information more quickly. Then from the answers you get from your customers, then it will help you to improve your website in that area rather than like that so vague. They can tell you 101 things for you to improve. Which are you going to focus on? You see, right? So think very carefully. Be more specific in your questions so you get more specific answers, details, right, in your data. Okay, another one. Do you think big business damages the environment? Do you think big business damages the environment? What's wrong with this question? Interview question. Why is it not a good question? Do you think?
Not nice.
Sorry?
It's big business.
What's wrong with big business? It's okay.
He doesn't specify the field of big business, like business in terms of car business.
I see. Okay lah. Let's say I specify Do you think the airline business damages the environment? Let's say the aviation industry damages the environment. What do you think? Let's say if I specify. No, the problem is not in this one. The problem is more of this. Do you think? What kind of answer do you expect the interviewer to give you if you ask this kind of question?
No, you will get a yes/no answer.
Exactly. It's just a yes or no only. That's how he will answer your question, right? Because it's a closed question. So avoid this. And the yes and the no, if you say yes, yes. If you say no, it's no. How could you proceed from there? You see, of course you can. From here you can also probe further and say, tell me why and all those things. But it's better in your question, right? Maybe you can reword it this way, something like this. Could you identify 2 or 3 ways we can green our office? You know the term green, right? It's to do with environmentally, make it more environmentally friendly, environmentally viable, right? So isn't it better this way? Can you name me 2 or 3 ways we can green our officers? So you see, more specific, right? More focused, so that they don't give you vague answers. Also, if you ask vague question, they give you vague answers. If you ask yes, no question, they only give you a yes or no. So there's not much you can do with the data that you get from them, right? Be open-ended, but at the same, and don't ask yes or no, and be specific, so that the answers you get. So always think of the answers. Think of how your readers are going to respond to you, and whether that answers will help you, right? It will be a rich data, useful data to you. Yeah. So that's when you ask your question. Okay. Finally, this one. Isn't the future of Bitcoin investment doomed to fail? You're asking the interviewer. Again, you're showing your prejudice here. Don't you think the interviewer is showing some biasness here? What did he use? Does he use here that shows his biasness?
It is doomed to fail.
Words like this expression is doomed to fail already show that it shows that the interviewer doesn't like Bitcoin actually. So he's showing his prejudice. So avoid this one. It's very biased. This is the example of bias and leading question. Leading bias, it means the same thing. Bias question. You're trying to influence the reader. Say yes, but it's doomed to fail, to agree with you. So no, keep it objective, keep it neutral. You can ask it this way: what do you think of the future of Bitcoin investment? So he can, here he is not trying to influence them in any way. Very objective, very neutral. Okay, so that's it lah. Again, please read up all this. It's all in the handout, right? These are, in fact, all the input today is more to guide you in your research, in your research. So just keep in mind these things and in your write-up later on. Okay, observation, just very quickly, the advantages of observation is, as you say, because you're observing real-life observation, so it's very strong on validity. The data you collect is very valid, right? And this observation is done in research in cases where you can't actually get answers through interview or survey, right? For example, let's just one example. This is a direct observation survey. It's called survey, but it's actually using observation method of child restraint seat use. I'm sure you know what this is. It's not in here. It's this observation. This report is done in the US, right? But it is on car seats, child car seats. As you know, it's already, I think it's a requirement, but I don't know whether it's enforced yet for this year in Malaysia, where all children below a certain age have to sit on child car seats, right? So how many people are using that? How many people are not using that? So you carry out a survey. So carry out a research to find out. So the best way is by observation, right? Rather than survey and interview. Survey interview, where you ask, do you use car seat? Most of people say yes. But whether they're really using, you don't really know. So the best way is observe. So you station someone, or maybe you yourself, the researcher, says somewhere in KL or in the city, in a certain spot, and then every car that passes and whatever, then you have a tally sheet. Normally they have an observation sheet, and then you tick the number of cars pass, the number of people who use car seats, the number of cars with children and they don't use car seats, things like that. Okay, so this example observation, this is the kind of observation form that you can use. Can you see all this? It's like a tally sheet, you tick, you observe. From that, you get your data also. Yeah, but you won't be doing this observation. So yours is just interview and survey, but both online. Yeah, interview and survey. And very quickly, just one slide. Secondary research is what you mentioned earlier. It's through reading, consulting books and articles and journals on what has been done by other previous studies by other people on your topic. Reading about what they do to get your background information is one thing, right? Okay, so all right, then we are done now. Just a quick recap. We covered today just these two only: primary research. These are the data collecting methods, and secondary research, and this is what it involves. This is what it involves in primary research. This is what involves secondary research. Okay, so what you will be doing for your project is primary research with secondary research for background information. Okay, all right. So what I do now is I will end here. We will come back later to talk about your plan of research. So we'll take 5-minute break. Yeah, 5-minute break. Meanwhile, if you Let me stop my screen sharing. Sorry. Okay, so you can go for your 5-minute break. You come back later. Come back to this video room because we will do look at plan of research very quickly, right? Before you. Any questions? Not that many of you in the room now. So. We'll see you in 5 minutes time. Yeah. Let me leave. I can leave it running. Leave it running. Are you here?
Yes.
Yes.
I've opened the other video room. Never mind, we'll continue here because I left this and then I started another video. Okay, we continue here. I hope everybody is here. Right. Let me go to share screen again. Let me go. Just now we were looking at this. Okay, we did this just now. Okay, I forgot to show you this. Please go to your spectrum. Now you have 3 handouts this week, right? Don't forget the slide cast by Dr. Yo, right? His mini lecture on the topic is covering covering week 4 and week 5. So for week, that's why it's about 45 minutes long. For this week, we are just looking at primary and secondary research. And please go to your handout, Doing Research by Colin. Right, this is the one that I've been referring to this whole time. For this lesson. There's one more handout. It's called handout 7. Handout 1 to 6 is for next week. This handout 7 is just simple, a few pages, a few page document on designing a survey. So refer to it, right? Download and refer to it. Yeah. So okay. Right, now we're going to talk about your assignment. Right. So your project, your class project, is actually in 3 stages. Yeah, in 3 stages, and the first stage is plan of research, which is what I want you to start doing from today, lah. Right? Plan of research. We talk a little bit later. From your plan of research, it's just a plan anyway. It's an outline to guide research and provide content for your progress report and for your proposal. So this is just a plan, right? It's just an outline. It won't be assessed, but it will help you to later work on your progress report. It will provide content for your progress report, and which is a short report, shorter than short. It doesn't mean 1 or 2 pages, lah, right? But it's a shorter report than your final report will be your proposal, and this will be a long report, right? So these 2 will be assessed, right? But we'll talk about it when the time comes. We'll give you the guidelines on how to write on this. But right now, let's concentrate on this first. Okay, your plan of research. Yeah. Okay. If you look at the guidelines that have been given to you by Dr. Yo, guidelines is given in your spectrum as well as the template. I hope you have looked at the template. Have you looked at the template? It's on Word document. Download it and make use of that template to help you to write your plan of research, which you need to submit by next week, week 5. When you say week 5 means this is your Tuesday class. So by Tuesday next week, by Tuesday next week, before we can say before 12 midnight before it turns Wednesday lah. So by next Tuesday will be 10th of November lah, right? 10th of November, and you upload it in your class forum spectrum. I will create a discussion topic, so you will upload your plan of research, right, in your class forum next week, Tuesday. Yeah. Samples, we will go to, I will have a look at 2 samples afterwards, 2 samples of plan of research, so you can have an idea what you need to do. Okay, so very quickly, this is the procedures that's involved in coming up with your plan of research. This is taken from the guidelines. If you read through the guidelines carefully, right, all the points are there. I've just pulled it out and put it in this form, right? So, but please go back and still read your guidelines closely and together with your members, right? So you understand step by step what you need to do. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to form your group, which all of you have already done. You're already all in your group, yeah, 4 to 5 members. Now then you need to select an issue. Select the problem. According to the guidelines from Dr. Yo, you need to work on an issue regarding students' needs. Students' needs. So he has given a few examples. Students who have financial needs. So you want to study on that issue. students who have maybe low income and come from a low income background, and so you want to carry out an activity to help these students. Example of an activity, it can be a fundraising activity, or maybe a food, I don't know, maybe a food bazaar or something like that, or some fundraising to provide funds to buy certain things to give them, or how in ways you can help students in need with regard to students with low income. Okay, so that's one example. Another example is maybe an issue of students with disabilities, let's say vision impaired, and they need help with, they need students to read to them, right? So maybe you can use this as an issue, study the research and come up with an activity, research on this area and come out with an activity to provide help, maybe involving volunteers who want to become readers, or to promote this issue, so that more people want to be volunteers to become readers to help these students with vision impaired disability, or maybe other things that can be hearing impaired, right? Mobility impaired. We come up with the key is to identify the issue, right? Research on it and come up with an activity to help to alleviate the problem, right? To meet their needs. Okay, so in your writing, you need to write area on background information, right? Write on possible causes of the issue, consequences. Who is your primary? Identify your primary audience. Primary audience, if you can remember, is the person that you're going to address your proposal to later on, your solution to. Let's say if your activity is to have a fundraising activity involving UM students. So you have to write this, address this proposal to the person in authority in UM who will give you the permission, who will approve your proposal, so that you can have the permission to carry out the activity in the campus. Right? So who will your primary audience be? Who do you think your primary audience should be for your project?
UM students.
Well, UM students are the participants, right? But they are not the primary audience, in the sense that they do not have the authority to give you the, to go ahead to say, yes, you can have my permission to carry out this activity, right? The primary audience is the one who is the decision maker, who after reading a proposal will decide, okay, this is a good proposal. I will give you the approval to carry out this activity. So who do you think? Somebody in authority, in your university, in charge of student, maybe head of student affairs, or even your VC, or your dean of faculty, or president of the residential block, or something like that, a student's resident. And please assume, we are supposed to assume that by next semester, you all will be able to go back to campus. So your activity will be held on site, in the campus. So keep that in mind when you plan. Okay? So your primary audience is the person in authority, right? Maybe a person in charge of student affairs, or your VC, right? Or somebody, or maybe if it's to do with health issues of students, I don't know, do you have somebody in charge? Mostly it's the head of student affairs, and these are the people that you should address it to. Not to the students. Students are not your primary audience. They are your actually secondary audience, because they are the participants, but they don't make decisions to decide whether your proposal should be carried out or not. Okay, and then come up with the title of the proposal and the type of activity you come up with. Your activity can be a campaign, it can be a camp, it can be a one-off activity, right? Like say food fair or something like that, right? Or cultural event, right? To get, if your issue is involved, let's say getting international students to feel more welcome in the campus or something like that. So so you have got to read through and decide what issue you want to come up with. Okay, verify your problem. That is where you use your primary data and your secondary data. Verify means you use your data to prove that this problem exists. If you're talking about let's say students with mental health problems, so you have to collect your data to prove that this issue exists in the campus, and how serious it is, how severe is the problem, using your data to verify. Okay, that's why you collect data. right? We don't just talk about it, but to prove that it really exists, it is real, that is happening in UM, this is a problem, this is a real problem that's happening. You use your data to prove it, data that you collect from the students or the staff or whoever that's affected. Okay, so data collection is you describe your two methods that you use, right, to collect your data. In every section, background information, causes, consequences, and then data collection. After I show you a sample of this plan of research, just write at least one paragraph on each example, on each section. Finally, or the final section is work allocation, where you have to write out your members. It basically means write out your members' names and then assign each one, describe who is responsible for what, right? In this writing of the plan of research, who is responsible? It's just to show that everybody is there's a fair distribution of work and everybody is allocated some work to do, right? To get this going. Okay. So, all right, we will look at something. Say we have to write, for example, in your plan of research, you have to write a statement of the problem first. The first thing you need to write, if you look at the guidelines, is to write the statement of problem. Statement of problem, it simply means one paragraph or at least one paragraph to describe the problem. Describe the problem, to tell you what the problem you're working, that you want to solve, what is the problem, and answer questions like who, why, when, what, and where. Example of a statement of problem is this. Right, this is an expression on a description on what is the problem about students not reading English books. Okay, so you write a short paragraph, at least one paragraph. Let's consider like one paragraph, at least one paragraph on the issue, on that problem itself, so that when the people who read your research report will know what problem you're dealing with, is to describe the problem. So when you describe something, you answer the question what, who are involved, what is the problem, why is it a problem, things like this. So answer questions like what is the problem? So it's mentioned here, right? students do not read enough. Okay, and then you have and then who are involved is students who are involved. Mention who are involved. Why is it important? If they do not read enough, so they fail to improve their reading skills, and so on and so forth. So just write it all in one paragraph or two paragraphs. To describe a problem. Statement of problem comes first, and after that you write the background information or background to the problem. This is where you have done your background reading. So just write, it's just a plan of research, so you come up with just one paragraph or two on what you have read regarding your issue, and of related studies or related or articles that talk about the same issue, right? That you have read up. So you just write some background information to this. That's it. So some of the student needs, besides the examples given, maybe you want to talk about anger management. Time management is, some of people ask, can I do time management as an issue? Time management has been done many times in the past, so try to keep away from articles like time management, unhealthy eating habits, or sleep deprivation, or even financial stress or financial management. Some of these have been done many times in the past, so try to do something new, something different. Think about it and let me know what topics that you want to talk about. Okay, after this I want to look at some samples. Are you here? Okay, any questions so far? Any questions? Any questions?
So far so good.
So far so good. Oh, okay, very good. Later on, I want you to go into your channel. I think some of you have already entered your channels where you meet your group members. You can continue your discussion there. We still have time. The class not over yet. So meet your members. You can either use chat or room. Okay, and then choose your titles or choose the issues and let me know lah. Let me know. I will pop into your rooms, one room at a time, and see what's going on and any questions you want to ask lah. Right? Okay, wait. I have not finished yet. Let me show you some samples of students' plan of research that have been done in the past. Okay. Please do not copy this down to. It's just a sample, right? A sample where you write your title and so on. So this is a plan of research. It can be the statement of problem. You see, can be he's talking about lack of exercise among students. Okay, so the statement problem is just a short paragraph to describe the problem. Okay, And then background to the problem, right? A short paragraph, it can be a brief paragraph like this or more than one paragraph, right? Because it's just a plan, like I say. Okay, so what you write here can provide content for your progress report later on, where we have to write much more, right? So background is what you have read so far regarding the problem, or what studies somebody else have done somewhere with some other people, okay, regarding problem, or what article you have read regarding a lack of exercise, for example. And then another section on the third section is on possible causes or reasons. So you can write in point form like this: what are the causes for lack of exercise among students? So they just list a few causes, 3 to 4 to 5 causes. Some are busy, some because they're tired, because of competing interests, because weather not suitable, because no workout buddy. Okay, and then write a short description. Okay, the fourth section you need to fourth heading These are the headings in your plan of research. It's all in your guidelines. What are the consequences if the problem is not solved? In this case, if students continue not to exercise, okay, there will be consequences like weight gain, increased risk of death. Anyway, diabetes or sickness, depression, and so on, right? Some of the possible consequences, okay, if they continue with this problem. And then mention your 2 data gathering methods, survey and interview, but not so brief like this. These people just put one word like that. You write a short description, okay, what is involved, what kind of survey you want to carry out, just very briefly, right? An interview. And finally, work allocation, right? Here's very brief, state the name of your members and who is doing what. Okay? Just to keep everybody in line, right? So that you're aware what you're supposed to do. There was one I wanted to point out here. Here there's a mistake here. Primary audience, this group wrote student wrong. This is wrong. Remember what I said just now. Your primary audience is somebody in authority. Since it involves student, it has to be somebody in authority in your right? In management, right? In charge of student affairs or whatever, some head. Don't just address to a division. Must be the person in charge, the head or the dean or somebody with a name and so on. Okay, another example. This is another example of plan of research, right? The issue is most students skip breakfast. Okay, students skip breakfast. So this is their plan of research. This is their statement of problem. Here they have written quite extensively, 2 paragraphs, right? I leave it to you, how brief or how, if it's a little bit more detailed, it will help you, in fact, better because all this will help you to build up your progress report writing later on, okay? So this is a statement of problem. This is the background to the problem. This group has written more extensively compared to the previous group, right? Statement of the problem, remember, background to the problem, remember, it's about all the readings that you have done so far. So far, it's just a plan. So far right now, you want to take certain things that you have read and you put it here. Regarding related studies, previous studies, articles related to the issue that you're doing, okay? So you write a bit on the background to the problem, possible causes and reasons, right? This group has written in paragraph form, the other group written in point form, so it's okay. Right? What are the causes? What are the reasons why students skip breakfast? What are the consequences if students skip breakfast? Okay, so they're written quite extensively here, right? And then data gathering methods, there is right. Here they have described briefly how they're going to carry out the interview and so on. Yeah, how many students they're targeting, how many questions. Same thing for survey. Just write very briefly, right? The 2 data gathering methods. You all will be using the same thing also, like interview and survey. And finally, work allocation. Yeah, here they have put out a table, the name, and then the details of who is supposed to do what. Oh, and then they describe further. This is all very detailed, this plan of research. But it's okay, you can put it this way or you can put it in point form. It doesn't matter, but it's a guide to guide you, right? It won't be assessed, but to guide your group as you start working on your research. Okay. So these are a sample. This is the plan that has been put up by Dr. Yo. Yeah, this is the guideline to the plan of research. Please read through it. It's in your spectrum, right? These are the issues that is put up. I hope you have gotten all this ready. Yeah, so please go through it with your group and to be submitted next week, right, in the class forum. Okay. Questions? Let me close this.
Yeah, Madam.
Yeah.
I have some questions regarding the collection of the data gathering methods.
Okay.
So the data we are going to, the methods that I'm going to mention there is just to collect the data from the participants, or like we have to collect the data for the workshop also. Like I am doing a workshop, so I need to collect what are the causes of the time management and the consequence like that. So that method should be included there or not?
In your plan of research, you mean?
Yeah, I mean the data collection, the data gathering methods.
Okay. What is it you're asking actually? Include what?
Should I include like I search for the consequences and how to solve it, or how to solve the problem through the article, books, and all that? So should I include? Is this a data that?
Oh no. Your data collecting methods is just for the primary research method. Your primary data. That means your data collecting methods is the methods you use to collect responses from the UM students through survey. One is through survey and one is through what the other one? Interview. You're reading up. Of course, in your interview and survey, you can also ask them, what do you think are the causes? What do you think are the consequences? Yes, you can collect. You can. What you collect from them, you don't have to describe in your plan of research. That means the content, no need. It's just what method you use and need. That's all. You just describe. Okay, these are the two methods I'm going to use to collect my data. Number one, interview, and then maybe you describe a short write-up on people you want to interview. Why you choose interview, you can also include that. What are the advantages? Same thing for survey. We plan to we plan to send out to 100 respondents. We plan to use online, or we plan to and ask. We are going to come up with 10 questions. Just like that, and no need to write the content or what kind of data you're going to get. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So causes and consequences is another section of your plan of research. That one is from your readings. You can get from your readings. Right now, you will not have started your interview and your survey yet. So what you need to do is do some basic reading first, background reading, to at least answer the section on background information, to write out on background information, to write out the section on causes and consequences. This information, these facts and information you can get from background reading. Okay, not from the data collecting yet. You have not started in data collecting yet. Not yet, but you need to start soon already. Okay. All right. So what we do now is, if you still have any more questions, no problem. You got just a few more minutes. We leave the room now, the video room. Can you all meet your members in your channel, and then we continue from there? If you have questions to ask, or if you want to inform me what title you have chosen and so on. Okay. Okay. Let's leave now. We go to your channels. Yeah. Everybody. See you there.